Hello and welcome, everybody. Welcome to the No Name Music Cast. My name's Tim, and this is
Joy.
And at the top of the show, I think Joy has got some music news or questions for me or something like that.
So you may have heard, I don't know, Tim may have heard, may not have heard, but right now the Coachella Music Festival is going on. I think it was last weekend and then this weekend as well. For those who don't know, we're recording this towards the end of April, so that's kind of why, even though you won't hear it probably till the end of May. So what I was going to do is I was looking at the lineup, and I wanted to see if Tim knows anything about any of these artists and guess what kind of music they do.
Okay, this may be interesting.
All right, so your first one is Blackpink.
Never heard of Blackpink. Maybe a metal band?
I think they're K-pop.
Oh.
I think. Pretty sure, yeah, they're K-pop. To be fair, I don't know much about them either, but I could see the little picture. And I had to click it to know. All right, the next one is Bad Bunny.
I've heard of Bad Bunny. I think Bad Bunny is hip-hop rap or something.
Kinda. I mean, he's like Puerto Rican, and so he kind of has like a Latin reggaeton type sound, but it's rap music, really. Mm-hmm. The next one is Rosalita.
The way you said that, I would assume some kind of South American artist, maybe sings in Spanish.
Well, she's from Barcelona, so she's actually from Spain, but she kind of does like pop music, but she's known for kind of genre bending, so a little bit of everything.
Okay.
And then I know you know who Blink-182 is. I'm pretty sure you probably know Willow Smith because it's Will Smith's son. Bjork was there, which was surprising. The Gorillaz are there, which I know Tim's familiar with them. The next one is Becky G.
Becky G. Never heard of Becky G. I assume a rapper.
I think she's a singer. I don't really know her music very much, but she became famous by posting videos of her covering other people's music on like TikTok.
Okay, well, maybe I could get famous by covering other people's music on YouTube like I do right now.
Apparently Blondie's there. Didn't know that. I don't know who this person is. Jackson Wang.
No idea.
Hong Kong rapper.
Okay.
I wouldn't have known that either if I wasn't looking at the list. Blondie Labyrinth.
It's a David Bowie tribute band.
I knew that's what you were going to say, but no, he is a British singer. That's all I can tell. Apparently, there's some question if people think he's Jamaican, but he's from Britain. Let's see. I'll torture Tim with one more. Let's go back. The Chemical Brothers.
Yeah, I've heard of that. That's sort of pop, hip-hop type music.
They're a little older. So the Chemical Brothers is an English electronic duo by Tom Rowlands and Ed Simmons in Manchester in 1989. So they said that they were at the forefront of electronic dance music and pop culture in Britain in the early 90s.
Yeah, I mean, I said hip hop, electronic beats, that kind of thing.
It's all the same. They make beat noises.
Exactly. Blips and blops is what they do.
All right, you're up, Tim. What's your music? I think you have some music news to start with.
Yeah, so we spoke in an earlier episode that Eddie Van Halen's Hot for Teacher Kramer guitar was going up for auction. Yes. So it went up to auction and it reached $3.9 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
How much did they say it was going to go for?
Well, they thought it was going to sell for maybe about $1 million less than that. But yeah, almost $4 million for the Hot for Teacher Kramer. I mean, it's way up there in the most expensive celebrity guitars ever sold. But, this, as I said before, this guitar really defines a generation, the MTV generation, the Hot for Teacher video, Eddie with his custom stripy guitar. That is just 80s culture right there. And I don't know who bought it. And, the sad thing is it's not going to be owned by a guitar player who's going to go and gig it. It's going to live in a bank vault or, I don't know, Hard Rock are going to buy it or something. It probably will never, ever get played again.
Some type of museum-esque thing, which, like I said, I have a hard time with that because I feel like instruments are made to be heard, not to be seen.
Absolutely. And we've spoken before that Kirk Hammett from Metallica, owns the Peter Green, Gary Moore Les Paul, which is called Greenie. And a lot of people criticize the fact that Kirk Hammett bought it because he's not a traditional blues artist. He's not like anything like Peter Green or Gary Moore. And, you know, a lot of people joke about how his guitar tone is no good and he's all wah-wah pedal and all this kind of stuff. But he's in a high-profile band. He can afford to pay the reported $2 million to buy it. And guess what? He's playing it every single night on tour and he loves it.
I mean, it's getting used, and not everything has to be so serious. It is still a guitar. He is a guitarist. Just because he's not playing the genre that people think it should be associated with seems a little silly to me. Exactly.
I'm very pleased he has it because, like I said, some kind of businessman would buy it or a hard rock would buy it and it would never see a stage ever again. But he loves it. He plays it. And even he said, I'm just its current custodian. He said, you know, at some point, you know, in the future when I'm not around, Greenie will have a new home and I'm just its current custodian.
Fair. All right. What's next, Tim?
Okay, so I have a CD of the week and then a new section called Notable CD.
I see a trend here. Okay.
All right. So this week's CD of the week is the new Metallica album, 72 Seasons. Now, I had mentioned this on a music news segment prior that this was going to come out. And I think I mentioned that I went to the cinema to see the album launch.
Yes, you did.
And I've heard this CD now. Well, I heard it on Spotify 3 or 4 times, and I liked it so much I actually bought the physical CD. And if Joy can see, it still has the shrink wrap because it only came yesterday and I haven't even unwrapped it yet. But I don't know, I really like this. This is heavy, it's fast, and it's good. And if you like Metallica, this is a good album to listen to. I think they've come back strong after being, you know, not releasing any music for a few years.
So, Tim, how do you feel about, so I know this is controversial, but remember on CDs back in the day with the shrink wrap around it, and then they had that one little piece at the top, and you had to pull the little thing off the top. Did you slice yours or did you peel it off?
Well, interesting fun fact about compact discs, that is a purely United States phenomenon. The European and UK CDs do not have that little piece on the top. And only when I started living here and I got back into physical music collecting, I was like, what's this thing? And then, yeah, all the CDs have it. I think the reason they did it is that when you was in the shops, you could browse the title on the top.
Well, I think it's that mixed with it was a good indication if somebody had opened it up. You know what I mean? Kind of like it was a way of indicating if somebody had messed with it and maybe took the CD out of it and then closed it, set it back on the thing. I could be wrong, but that's what I would guess.
Yes, but I will tell you how to remove them, and it's sort of.
I was going to say there is a thing to do.
Yeah, the theft deterrent thing doesn't really work because, like, obviously this is an audio podcast. You can't see what I'm doing. I'm holding a CD here. If you pull the little thing like that and then do that, then you can take the piece off.
Take it right out. So yeah, I do think the part of it is you're right. When you're looking from the top, you can see the name of the artist and the songs. And a lot of times it would say like a few singles, you know what I mean, to kind of indicate this is in sync, bye as you're flipping through. But yeah, I was just curious, and I think you had mentioned once before maybe that they didn't have it in the UK. I don't know.
Yeah, completely a UK phenomenon. The thing is that you find now is that nearly all CDs that are released do not have jewel cases. Every single one is what they call a digipack, which is effectively it's cardboard. Now, they will probably spin it to you that not making jewel cases is environmentally friendly and the manufacturing process uses lots of materials and all this stuff, and paper's a renewable resource and all this kind of stuff. But the cynical part of me says it's probably because it's cheaper to make.
Cheaper. That's exactly what I was thinking. It's cheaper to make. And like Tim says, you can't do the little special thing he was just saying with the jewel case to get in underneath it. But mostly it's cheaper for them as a company.
Yeah, because like I've got the Medicine at Midnight Foo Fighters CD here, which I spoke of a few episodes ago. This is so cheaply made. I mean, like the Metallica ones are like they've made a box out of it, even though it's not a jewel case. The Foo Fighters one is what you would have back in the day as a CD single. It's just like two little.
Oh, it's that paper. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a few CD singles like that.
Doesn't even have a digipack piece on it. I mean, they've gone so cheap. I mean, for us physical music collectors, we should be happy that they're still making that stuff. But yeah, they've gone super cheap on the boxes. I can't remember the last time I bought a new compact disc and it came with a jewel case.
See, and that's so weird to me because I hadn't really thought about it. Because the only times I've really bought stuff has been at, thrift shops, and so they're in the jewel case. But I don't know. That would take away a little bit of the nostalgia because a lot of times, when I was growing up, kids would go to the store with their parents, and yeah, maybe up until I was probably like 7, you asked for a toy while you're at the store, but I would always get a CD. And part of the fun was getting the little piece at the top off in the little jewel case and then open it and slipping out the thing and reading what songs and lyrics and things they put in the top of it. That's part of the fun of having a CD.
Yeah, I mean, they still put the little book in there, but yeah, it's not quite the same. But I mean, who knows how long they'll still be making them. So I'm enjoying the fact I can still order them from Amazon and it's still a thing.
Fair enough.
But there we go. Well, I have one other, the notable CD of the week. Now, this, I'm not going to really talk about the music, but I'm going to talk about what happened. So this is Sammy Hagar, the Essential Red Collection. Now, as you all know, he's known as the Red Rocker. He plays a red guitar and everything is red, red, red. Mm-hmm. First time I ever came to the United States in August 2004, I went to the Virgin Megastore in Times Square and I purchased, this is the first thing I ever purchased on US soil, the Essential Red Collection by Sammy Hagar. And when I bought it, I found out about sales tax because as we've mentioned before, in the United States, if you go into a shop and something's $10, you go to the register to pay, and it will be $10.37 or something, depending on what state you're in, because they add the sales tax on top of what the quoted price is. So I went to buy this, and it was $14.99 or something, and then they say $15.72, and I'm like, huh? What?
Did I read that wrong?
I think I got the wrong price on it. I didn't question it, and then my friend Mark Chudley, who I was with, he said, yeah, they put sales tax on everything. I was like, oh, really?
Well, and I think part of it is, I mean, it does create some ambiguity. It's weird because, like, Tim's right. The few times I've been to the UK, it says this is going to be 10 euros. You hand them 10 euros and you walk away. But I think part of the reason it's not included in most things in America is because we're so different. Because, kind of in a way, the states are like their own country as far as certain laws. So state, local, federal taxes, it's so different from state to state. So like whenever because I work in HR and I do payroll for a national company. So I hire people all over the place and I see what we have to do with taxes in some of those states. Some have local municipal taxes that come out of your state check, out of your check. Some have state taxes, some don't. Like Florida doesn't have any taxes coming out. So it really I feel like that's the reason why. It's annoying, but I do think that's probably why they don't do it that way.
Yeah, it'd be too complicated to have the pricing inclusive because of its taxing because it's different across different states. And then some states have like sales tax holidays at a certain time of the year. It's a whole thing. But anyhow, so I learned about sales tax buying this CD. And the other thing is I've never ever seen a CD with a red jewel case before. This jewel case is completely red. Everything about it is red. The plastic is red.
That reminds me of the ones when you burn CDs. Remember how they had the multicolor ones where you could do the tops? Yeah.
Yeah. But they said that this whole thing is red. And I lost my original one when I culled my CD collection in sort of the early to mid 2000s. But I had to have another copy. And I went onto eBay and there were several copies. Some didn't have the red jewel case. And then some of them had the red jewel case and it was broken or scratched. And I found one that was sealed. It was still sealed in the shrink wrap, and it was perfect and beautiful. So I bought it, paid a little bit through the nose for it, but I bought it and it came and it was all packaged nicely so it wouldn't break in transit. And I took that shrink wrap off for the first time, and me and Sammy Hagar in his red CD were reunited finally.
I love that it's red. Very American of you, Tim.
There we are. So it's I said I wasn't going to talk about the music contained. It was just a very notable disc from my personal history.
Look at you, Tim, letting all the people know the important things, like how you learned about sales tax. So, I do have one other thing to tell Tim about. So in my grand scheme of things always weird that happened to me, and for those who don't know, I spent 20 minutes telling Tim about the weirdest banking thing that could possibly ever happen to a person before you start. But just by luck, right? I had to go to the doctor today because a piece of glass is stuck in my toe. The doctor could not get it out. I have to now soak my foot for 3 days, and go back and let them attempt to get glass back out of my foot. I broke my blender while packing stuff the other day. And I mean, I went over this floor 74 times. Charlie's walked through it. My dogs walked through it. I walked through it, and I got a piece of glass in my toe. And I have been dealing with it for about 3 days, and I couldn't get it out. So I finally called my doctor, went in, and now I have to wait 3 more days after I soak it, and he's going to check and see if it's gone. He could feel it, like he could tap it, but like he could not get a grasp on it to get it out. And let me tell you guys, you know the numbing medicine they give you always burns. The toe or any of your extremities have extreme amount of nerve endings, so they're very painful. That's why when you stub your toe, it's like more painful than, like, you know what I mean, when you burn yourself or something for some reason. So I had never had numbing medicine there. It was he put 2 needles worth of numbing medicine in it because he was trying to because what happens is the numbing medicine goes up underneath your skin and then it makes it expand. And by expanding, he was hoping that would make it easier to get in there, I guess, the fluid, to get it out. That didn't work. Instead, I just got 2 painful needleful vials of numbing medicine and about 15 minutes of him trying and being told to go home.
Oh, dear. I don't know if I was ready on a Friday night. And again, we don't always record on a Friday. So this is a Friday evening. Am I ready for another joint injury story on a Friday night?
Well, I don't know. But it was just, I was like, I'm going to be like, well, so far I got hit in the face. I have 7 little marks on my finger where I cut it open on a packaging tape and I broke my blender. Given my blender hadn't been used in... I think I used it 3 times since I bought the thing. My theory was I was going to be making all these healthy shakes or something for breakfast. Guess what I didn't do?
You didn't make any healthy shakes.
No. I'm pretty sure the only thing that ever got made in that thing was some margaritas. And that might be it. So it's not like the blender is really that much of a loss. But there you are.
Oh, dear. Crikey O'Reilly. Well, anyway, Joy, I hope that you can remove this glass from your foot and you make a full recovery soon.
Or I'm going to be next week revisiting my bank account woes and my poor foot woes to Tim.
Oh, dear. And I mean, you move house in a couple of weeks.
I know. But yeah, that'll be fun. I'm like, you spent 15 minutes and like you could like, when you find like a splinter or something where you're using like a needle, you can feel it, where it's at, but he could not. It was such a small little piece. He could not get it out.
Oh dear. Well, I wish you all the best. I think you should not be doing any more moving anymore.
To be fair, all the packing is done besides the essentials that will go out the day of. And most of the actual moving stuff will mostly be Charlie and Adam putting boxes onto the truck and then bringing it over. So a big majority of my part is over.
There we are. Well, I hope that's the last calamity that befalls you because of this move.
Who knows? But anyway, there we are. Well, it's my topic, unless you have anything else, Tim.
No, yeah. What is your topic for this week?
So I struggled this week. I don't know why. I went through about 4 topics, so I finally figured out what I wanted to talk about. And yesterday was me and my husband's 12-year wedding anniversary. I was telling Tim about this. So because of that, in honor of that, I decided to do you really shouldn't use this song in your wedding like you think you should episode. Okay. So this is a list of songs from DJs that people tend to assume are actually very romantic. But when you go back and listen to the lyrics, it probably doesn't say what you think it should on your wedding day.
Okay.
And these were ones submitted by like DJs and people who host weddings. And a lot of these songs are going to be songs that you hear all the time at weddings. So none of them are going to come as a surprise. But the first one we're going to talk about is Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls.
Okay.
Which I'm sure Tim is fairly familiar with the song Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls. Just an assumption. So if you pay attention very closely to the lyrics, Irish by the Goo Goo Dolls, it's not really as romantic if you think about. It's mostly about a guy feeling bad about himself. There's a line that says, with everything feels like the movies, you bleed just to know you're alive. And this DJ says he has heard it played at 40% at weddings within like the first dance or right after.
Yeah, I suppose it's like Born in the USA, where it sounds like such a great song to have at a wedding. Born in the USA is like, yeah, America. But then like when you get deeper down into the lyrics, it's not what you think it is.
Yeah, and that's what the majority of these songs are, because I talk about this genre that used to drive me insane of music, and I said like Lips of an Angel by Hinder. I distinctly remember when I was in high school and that song came out, the over-the-top people who were in relationships when they were 15 being dramatic, but dedicating that song to their boyfriend or girlfriend or whoever without any thought to the matter that the song is about cheating. And so I remember thinking that this is just and there was this one couple, Tim, and I shockingly enough, this relationship did not make it, but there was a couple in my high school so we were in 12th grade. So that's usually 17, 18 years old in America. That's your final year of high school here. So final year of pre-college education. So, the guy actually asked the girl to marry him on our prom night. Shocking. And the song that he had played when he proposed to her, Lips of an Angel by Hinder.
No.
Now he's in the military and married to someone completely. I think they broke up after the school year ended. Let's be real. Nobody needs to be engaged at 17 years old, but yeah. So that happened a lot. And the other one was that, Uncle Cracker, like Follow Me or whatever. Mm-hmm. That song's about cheating too. And I remember it was kind of just dished out there like some love song. And I'm like, not really. He's talking about just follow me and everything will be all right to the girl that he's cheating on his wife with. So it's not really, I guess for some people they might find that romantic, but I particularly don't.
No. Well, I have a question for you, Joy, but even before you get into your next song.
Yeah.
Did you and Charlie have a big wedding? Did you have a first dance or anything?
It wasn't a huge wedding. So I got married in Utah, and it wasn't at a Mormon temple or anything, but it was a Mormon owned kind of like complex. We weren't religious. This was just a nice building to have it in. Mm-hmm. And they officiated the ceremony, but we had, so actually my twin sister had planned, Brandy, who was on the last episode of the No Name Music Cast, had picked out all of the music, put it on her iPod. She was going to kind of just do my DJing because they traveled out there. She got rushed out the hotel room and left it and her whole purse in the lobby of the hotel, and they wouldn't let her go back because she was going to be late to my wedding.
Oh, no.
So she's like, well, I hope everything that I own wasn't stolen, that I made it to your wedding. So we ended up making do with somebody else had something, and I think there was a couple of like people like kind of put in their own music to make it work. So I didn't really get the music that I wanted. Thankfully, our first dance was to the Lion King's Can You Feel the Love Tonight, but it was the Elton John version. And I had that on like a CD that they could play. So I had that, and I had this song. It was just a classical song that I picked to walk down the aisle to. But yeah, it was funny because Charlie's grandmother was super paranoid the entire time music was playing that something inappropriate was going to come on because it was owned by the Mormon church. No one cared after it was said and done, but I had a pretty decent sized reception. There was like 80, maybe 60 people, 80 people. I think there was probably 30 people sitting on each side, like the bride's side and the groom's side. Most of my family traveled. It was a lot of Charlie's family because we were in Utah, and his friends. But we did have a decent reception. I did not spend near as much money for my wedding as some people do. My wedding, probably decorations, food, everything all together. Most expensive thing being the cake was like $500. The venue was free. I paid for my wedding dress. That was a couple $100. Charlie rented a tux, and that was about it. We didn't even have like a whole set of groomsmen and bridesmaids and everything. My twin sister was my maid of honor, and she just picked out a dress that she wanted to wear. And then Charlie's brother was his I guess, groomsmen or groom of honor, whatever the main guy is. And that was pretty much it. So it was relatively simple, but there were still some pieces to it.
Yeah, we got married in the courthouse, or well, we would call it a registry office, but you'd know it as a courthouse, in Hounslow, 88 Lambton Road, Hounslow. And I think there was 7 or 8 people there, including Hannah and I. None of her family traveled because it was obviously in England.
Yeah.
I had 2 best men, Mark Chudley and Hogg, were both my best men. And then we had a very low-key, courthouse wedding. And then we had a limo that took us to the Hard Rock Cafe in London. And then we booked a table there. And then we had just like a nice lunch, really. And we didn't have a first dance or any of that kind of stuff. Hannah didn't want any of that. She just wanted something very low key. So we just had friends. We had a nice lunch, had a nice food and drink. And then we got a cab home, and that was that.
I mean, to be fair, me and Charlie had been together for, we had been living together for 3 years before we got married. I think we finally just said, okay, I guess we should make it official. And we didn't put in an extreme amount of work. But yeah, so my wedding was pretty basic. A little bit more than Tim's. There were more people. I did buy a wedding cake. I still don't know what happened to it after I left. They say you're supposed to freeze it and eat it at the first. I have no clue what happened to my wedding cake. I can't tell you. I think Charlie's grandmother probably took it home or something.
My wedding cake was Hard Rock celebration cake, which they use for people's birthdays. It was a chocolate cake. It was delicious. And everyone had some on the day. And then we took some away with, because we went on a honeymoon the day after. We went to Wales, went to Port Merion, and I think we just gave the rest of it away to people who was there. It's do you want to take some cake with you?
Maybe that's what mine did or something. I have no idea. We didn't have a full meal either. It was mostly appetizer stuff, if that makes sense. Just little hand foods and things for people to eat. But you just reminded me, the reason Brady had to leave her purse and we were all late for my wedding. So I can't tell a story without laughing. The day of my wedding was a cluster from, words I can't say in this podcast. But we got up, got ready. So my parents were staying in a hotel room close to Salt Lake City. It was mom, dad, my twin sister, her husband, and then their oldest son, Jaden, was still a baby at this point. They brought my nephew Juan with my mom and dad because he was the oldest, and I basically grew up with him as a brother, just because my older sister got pregnant very young, and that's just how it worked out. And then my Aunt Priscilla and my Uncle Marcus. So my Aunt Priscilla and Uncle Marcus, there is no way they are listening to this podcast, so I'm just going to say it for what it is. My Uncle Marcus is about the most southern backwoods man you can find. This side of the Mason-Dixon line, and that's saying a lot. And this man drives everyone who's ever been around him for more than 10 minutes insane. He spent the entire trip from Virginia to Utah asking my dad what every tree was and wanted to stop and see bison and deer and just everything. So anyway, we went, my mom, me, Brandy, my Aunt Priscilla all went right before the wedding, go get my hair done. Aunt Priscilla wanted to get her nails done, all that stuff. So during this time, Charlie was back at the hotel with my dad and my Uncle Marcus, and Dad and they were just kind of hanging out, and they went down and ate. And for some reason, Uncle Marcus didn't go with them. So then he got hungry. And so Aunt Priscilla made us stop to pick him up a burger. Like that was important at that moment. I don't know. So anyway, we did that. And then Aunt Priscilla was like, oh, I think he ate with Charlie and my dad, which she didn't. That was the point. And so my mom ate the burger. She was hungry, and then we got back to the hotel, and Uncle Marcus was mad because Mom ate his sandwich, and he stormed back into the hotel. And so my dad went in to find him, and it looked, I can't even make this up. It looked like an episode of Scooby-Doo, because Uncle Marcus goes in one door, Dad goes in the other to find him, then he comes back out, and they're running around trying to find each other, and my mom gets out of the vehicle to go help him and apologize for eating his burger, and my dad stopped my mom and was like, no, sit down, Marie. He finally finds him, tells him to get in the car. Mind you, this went on for like 20 minutes of them running around like an episode of Scooby-Doo. My dad is so mad by the time he gets out, gets everybody in. We still had to pick up the wedding cake, if I remember right. There was like a little metal kind of like pole thing at the end of the parking lot, maybe to help you not drive into too far or whatever. Mm-hmm. He literally kicked it so hard and bent over. He got in the car and goes, God, I really hope that hotel doesn't have a camera because I'm probably going to pay for that too.
Oh, goodness me.
And that's why we were all late to my wedding. All because my mom ate my uncle Marcus's sandwich.
All I have to report from ours is it rained. We couldn't have any pictures taken outside, and the limo driver dropped my mum's digital camera, and it broke the zoom. But there you go. That's all I have from mine.
And the craziness, they wouldn't let Bertie go back and find her purse that's sitting in the lobby of the hotel because Dad like told us all to sit down and stop. I can't make this up. Anyway, all because a hamburger was eaten by the wrong person. I still don't know why Uncle Marcus didn't just go eat at the hotel like everybody else. I've yet to figure that part of the story out. But if you try to talk to him, you're not going to get an answer. So it's not worth your time. Okay, all right. So back to songs you shouldn't be using on your wedding day. So another one, and I'm sure Tim is very familiar with this song. It is Always by Bon Jovi.
Yeah, because this is like a super sappy power pop. It's not really, I don't know. It's not like one of those great rock classic type songs, power pop things. It's a bit syrupy, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, but you see how it would be if you just listen to it. You assume it's like a love song. He's like dedicated. I think the first line says something about Romeo in it.
Yeah, Romeo is something, and
I thought it's like Romeo is bleeding.
Yeah, Romeo is bleeding, but you can't see his blood.
So that alone is like the worst lyrics ever when you say it out loud. But like at one point in the song, it's like, it's always raining since you left me, and now I'm drowning in the flood. And this guy said in the mid 90s, the DJ who recommended this song said that this was everywhere at every wedding. These couples that were a little bit edgy wanted the kind of rock first, song. And like, he always would just like cringe when they would say it because it just like, yeah, it's like, I told you would cry for me, I would die for you. That's kind of the Romeo thing. But when you get down to it, I mean, it's literally saying, I'm drowning in the flood since you left me. So it's a song about leaving somebody and being upset because they left you. And that's probably why Romeo is bleeding.
Yeah, I mean, the chorus is, isn't it like, I will love you always? And that's the chorus. And then that's probably the bit that most people hone in on. But yeah, I think if I was going to have something like that as a first dance type song, I might scan through the lyrics, especially now with the internet. It's very easy to do that.
Yeah, to be fair, he was referencing the 90s. But I mean, those CD cases we were talking about back in the day, Tim, were very useful pre-internet. So I could learn all my song lyrics.
Yeah, most of them had them printed right in there.
Well, and I feel like Bon Jovi is kind of one of those people that people associate as like I don't want to say like romantic, but a lot of his lyrics can be very intense.
Yeah, it's sort of power ballad-tastic, but I said I don't know if this would be a power ballad. I don't know.
I don't know. We had that whole discussion on how do you define a power ballad for the last, how long was that other episode? I was surprised to see this one on the list because I feel like this one's obvious, Tim. But this person said, she said that she saw it at multiple weddings when it was in the height of the song. It's Better Man by Pearl Jam.
Really?
Yeah. And it's a song about Eddie's like abusive mom, I'm pretty sure.
Like, Pearl Jam doesn't strike me as the sort of thing you'd have played at a wedding, unless you're big Pearl Jam fans or you're big into that kind of music. And I could see that you'd maybe have a wedding that would have Alice in Chains, Pearl Jam, etc., etc.
Maybe, but like in all seriousness, no offense, but like his voice doesn't really sound romantic to me.
No.
As a whole. Eddie Vedder's voice is very I mean, and then it's also like can't find a better man. I guess that's why people are putting it on their like wedding playlist, because it does say that like over and over and over. You know what I mean? She's in color, she's in dreams of red, can't find a better man, can't find a better man. But like, I just can't see Pearl Jam hitting a romance vibe for me. I don't know.
No. I said maybe all those happy couples were big alt rock grunge fans. I don't know.
I guess. So this one showed up as both versions. I saw it on multiple lists because I've went through a few different people who were doing this kind of thing. And it's I Will Always Love You, but I saw Dolly's version and Whitney Houston's version. And the reason they're bringing that up, and me and Tim have talked about, Dolly wrote it, and it was, her telling what's his face that she would always love Porter Wagner and she would always love him at the end of the show. And I had heard that story growing up from my mom, and then Tim's talked about it on the podcast a few times. But, it does say, if I should say, I would only be in your way. So it's a song about leaving. And it really is, because Dolly was leaving the show. She was saying she would love him forever and thanked him for the show. And, but she needed to go her own way. So I could see why I Will Always Love You isn't exactly the romantic song you want at a wedding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I suppose it has that big chorus, the iconic chorus, and maybe people wouldn't read so much into the verses.
I do think so. I think that what me and Tim are saying is if you are getting married in the near future, just Google the song lyrics to whatever song you're looking for, or maybe do an instrumental version. That's an option.
I mean, that would work. I mean, I remember I've done a number of weddings in various bands I've been in. So I was in a band called The Guilty Party, which I've spoken of. And there was a lot of weddings that we did. And then so I remember one of the first dances was the song Nobody Does It Better.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was one of the first dances.
I would have never thought that, Tim.
Yeah, Carly Simon.
I mean, it could also, though, we might be reading too much into it. It could just be a song that people in the wedding generally like. You know what I mean? Like, and they're not taking it too seriously. It's just a song they both like. But on what you're saying, I Will Always Love You as the chorus, Tim, that chorus, though, even if that is iconic, it's saying I will always love you like it's indicating someone who's like saying bye, but I'm going to love you anyway. So even the chorus doesn't seem that romantic to me when you get down to it.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, we've got Dolly, you've got Whitney. They're singing that big chorus.
The Bodyguard soundtrack or whatever it's from. I mean, I guess that's true. It's probably putting too much into it. Now, I'm not sure how familiar Tim is with this song. I think you do know this because this band was everywhere for about 5 minutes. Are you familiar with the Lumineers at all, Tim?
It's a name I've heard of, but I don't really know any of their music, if I'm being honest.
It's that they've got a song called Ho Hey, and it's like, hey, ho, like literally. And I think they played it at Floyd Fest when they were at Floyd Fest, and they've got like that kind of Floyd Festy sound. But it's kind of like if you've got somebody who's maybe like hipster kind of vibe type thing, I could see this song registering on their radar. But like in the middle of the song, it's actually more about, he says, I don't think you're right for him, but hey, think of what it might have been. In the middle of the song, and that's what the whole song is. But because it's got like this kind of like guys on the ukulele, there's like some drum type bongo thing, like hipster kind of vibes. I don't think anybody has ever actually paid attention to it. But also, it's kind of weird to me because I'm pretty sure there's like even a mandolin. I think the girl in it plays like a mandolin or something because it's got almost like a bluegrassy sound in some ways. So I could see it being played, but I wouldn't imagine. I don't know how I'd feel about that being someone's first wedding dance, or like, but generally wedding dances are slow, but maybe these people are really fun. I don't know.
Yeah, from what you describe, if people say lived in Floyd and they were kind of hippie hipster types, I could see that would probably fly. Now, as we've spoken before, Floyd is a very unique community.
Yes.
It's like the crossroads of the world in Floyd. Every sort of socioeconomic group all live together very happily, very conservative people and hippies and people with Trump hats and LGBTQ folks all live in this tiny little town and it all works.
Yeah, it really is. And for those who've never looked at Floyd Fest, just Google Floyd Fest. It's become bigger and bigger. I saw that they're not even doing it this year for some reason. I didn't really get into the meat and bones of it. But for some reason, it's been canceled.
Yeah, what happened is that I think previously they used to hold Floyd Fest in like a farmer's field, basically, and they would build the stage every year. And then they decided to, I think, either purchase a plot of land or lease a plot of land and build a permanent home for Floyd Fest. And it would have stage and facilities and all that kind of stuff. And it won't be ready for Floyd Fest. And that's what it boils down to. I don't know whether they ran out of money or resources or just time. So this year, there's no Floyd Fest because there's nowhere to hold it.
Huh. Which is weird because it's not a new thing. Like,
no,
they waited till so last minute to put it together.
Yeah, because they had some really big acts. Sheryl Crow was booked for Floyd Fest this year. And you think if you have all these big acts booked, wouldn't you move it to the Civic Center? Wouldn't you move it to the amphitheater that's in Roanoke or something?
Yeah, and the other thing is like, ask around. There's probably property value. And Floyd's a very, for those who, we said it's a weird area, but there's a lot of like people with large farms and things of that nature that probably hold like weddings and stuff. I feel like you would have quite a few options to put people. It's very strange.
Yeah, maybe there's more to it than just they haven't built the site yet. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I saw them talking about like they were refunding people their money on one of our local news stations, but I didn't really look any further into it.
Yeah, I read that on I read that on WDBJ7, which is our local CBS affiliate. That's exactly where I saw it. So we were probably looking at the same Facebook post. People commenting on it, complaining. But anyway, I've always said I'm going to go, and then I never do. Like, I don't know why. It just never works out. For me, festivals are best enjoyed as an artist. I've played many festivals in various bands. It's fun to be in a festival, but it's nice to have the backstage facilities. It really is. And we all know that, like, modern day music festivals, they charge you an arm and leg for any modern commodity whatsoever. Oh, you want this water bottle? Here, give me your soul. Like, oh, you want to use the restroom? Wait 3 hours out here. I remember, what concert was it? It might have been I don't know. It's somewhere in Charlotte. One of the concerts I went to, I waited almost 3 hours to go to the restroom. Yeah, like that's not a joke. Yeah, I couldn't be doing with that. Yeah, so no, thank you. But anyway, so that's partially part of it. The other thing is, like, there's no seating. You have to bring your own blanket. It's hot. It's the middle of, nowhere, literally. Lots of people, all that stuff. Exactly. Anyway, so the next one that they talk about that people use a lot at weddings that isn't actually as romantic as they think it is My Heart Will Go On by Celine Dion. Yeah, I could see that because, I mean, that is such it's like a power pop song, if you will. Yeah, and see, what they're saying is what they're getting at is, that line where it's like, you're safe in my heart and my heart will go on and on. Mm-hmm. That kind of insinuates that, like, yeah, I loved you in the moment, but I'm moving away from this. Like, the moment was good, but, like, this isn't a long-standing thing. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's like a song about saying, oh, yeah, I really like the relationship, but I'm going to go on. Good luck. Yeah, see you later. Bye-bye. Bye. And the more I think about it, the more it kind of is. And the reason it works so well is because, I mean, think about the Titanic. The song is literally when she knows they're not going to be together forever and he's going to die. Yeah. So, yeah, this is great in the moment for our 2 days that we loved each other on this ship, but I'm out. Good luck. That's literally what the song said. Yeah, they were together for 2 days and on a film that lasted 4 hours or whatever it was. Really, you know what though, looking back, I saw a thing and this guy was talking about, you always hear the Titanic, it's a real ship. They really hit an iceberg. All those people really died. That's the reason why boats have to have enough, life things now. What am I thinking of? Lifeboats. Lifeboats or life jackets. Yes. And so because of the Titanic, a lot of good things, I guess, came later. Sad that something crazy had to happen for them to take that into account, but you know how life is.
So, what this guy was saying, he's like, I seriously grew up as a kid thinking, though, that the actual Titanic movie there really was a Rose, you know what I mean? And she told her story. And he said, it was only once I became an adult that I learned that it didn't actually happen. And I was so sad.
Well, do you know what's funny? Have you ever been to the Titanic exhibition in Pigeon Forge?
Yes.
Yeah. And you know when you go in. So for people who don't know, Pigeon Forge is like how can you describe it? It's like being at the beach, but there's no beach. It has mountains instead. And there's attractions and restaurants and vacation destination. That's hotels everywhere, that kind of stuff. And it's very famously, that's where Dollywood is, in Pigeon Forge. And they have a Titanic museum exhibition there. And following the fabled US trend, it is novelty architecture. It's like a 3/4 scale model of the Titanic, or half of it, at the side of the road, and it has water squirting up it. And as you drive past it, there's an iceberg embedded in the front. I'm not even making it up. Look,
ridiculous.
If you don't live around here, look it up, because it is unbelievable. Anyhow, when you go in there, it takes you through the whole journey of the Titanic and what happened and all this kind of stuff. And they take you into a room that's very cold, and that's how cold the water is. And they have real Titanic artifacts there. They have a scale recreation of the main staircase that you would see in the Titanic film. But what happens is that when you go in and you get your ticket, on the back of your ticket is a name of a person. And then when you go all the way through the exhibition and you get to the end, you scan your ticket and they tell you whether that person made it or not.
That's so horrible the more I think about it.
Yeah, I mean, these are real people. This is not a fictional thing. I mean, yeah, it was 150 years ago, whatever it was. But yeah, these are real people that probably have great-grandchildren that are still alive.
Well, it's also just the commercialism of like using this as a profit in your vacation town and building that to bring people in. Because like, what the heck does Pigeon Forge, Tennessee have to do like remotely with the Titanic between the England and New York, right? Wasn't it New York to England?
Yeah.
Like, what does Pigeon Forge have anything to do besides marketing and using it for their vacation town?
What it has to do is footfall, as they say in the trade, because it's on the main road that goes between Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg. And there are literally, I'm not exaggerating, millions of vehicles that drive past there every week.
So ridiculous. And it is so monstrous. I can't say it. The big... large.
It's a monstrosity. I think that's what you're looking for.
Yes. From the side of the road, and it looks ridiculous and over the top that like it's going to catch your attention, even if you think it's ridiculous, which is what I thought when I drove past it. And it is. You're going to be interested to know what it is. It's going to catch your attention. So that's exactly what they're going for. But I always thought that was like the most random thing, because most of Dollywood kind of esque area, Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge, it's kind of all like focusing on like country music and Southern, like things that are predominant in the area. And so I'm like, where did the Titanic come in the planning?
And the thing is, next door to that is the Wonder Works, which is an upside down building. Again, novelty architecture. It's an entire building that has been built upside down. And it's like a science type thing for kids. And you go in and you can learn about this and learn about that. And there's like tunnels you go through and things. It's a children's like museum exhibition type thing. But I said the whole building has been built upside down. Even so much there's a FedEx box hanging upside down from the roof of the thing. Again,
ridiculous.
I would Street View it. If you're not from around here, go on Google Street View and pull up the Titanic Museum and the Wonder Works, I think it's called, and you will see all that stuff going on. And next door to that is the Hard Rock Cafe, obviously.
And then as you drive along and you end up in Gatlinburg, because Pigeon Forge before you get to Gatlinburg has like Ripley's Believe It or Not museum right out front. And as a teenager, my favorite thing to do is they've got this ball out front that water runs over. Have you ever messed with it, Tim?
Yeah.
Everybody feels like,
because it weighs hundreds of tons. There's this big granite ball, but because it's floating on water, you can actually push it and spin it.
Yeah, and you feel the water, and like everybody's got to stick their hand in there. It was probably a COVID nightmare. Looking back, but I distinctly remember that was always my favorite. And then you've got a giant aquarium that's like huge. You can see from 5,000 miles away, and that's the same area when you look up on the mountain. They've got the lodge there has like those things you ride. What am I thinking of, Tim? Ski lifts. That's the ski lift where I got stung by the bee on my hand when I was on it, and my hand swelled up really big, and they take a picture of you. So it's 8-year-old Joyce just sitting there with a giant swollen hand in the photo that went home with us.
Oh, no.
I mean, what do you do? You're stuck in the air as a bee stung you. I couldn't do anything.
And your feet dangle. I've been on that, and your feet dangle.
Yeah, my dad's sitting there and I'm just sitting there and I'm holding on to the little thing because I'm tiny. And if I don't hold on, I'm going to fall out. And so I have my hands right in front of them. They snap a photo of you and one hand is like 3 times the size of the other. Anyway, all right. So I don't know what Pigeon Forge has to do with Titanic, but they're marketing it really well. All right. So this one is an obvious one. And I feel like it's been talked through a lot now. And it even has a famous, name. It's Every Breath You Take by the Police.
Yeah, this is that stalker song, as you always say.
It has a famous nickname, the stalker song. So, it's like every night you stay, I'll be watching you. I don't know how you can interpret that. I mean, I don't know about you.
Do you want to start your years of married life with a stalker song? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was thinking. I was literally going to say the same thing. I was like, I mean, not a great way to start off your wedding and your marriage by insinuating that you think the stalker thing's kind of cool.
Yeah, I suppose I'm thinking about this. All these songs that we've spoken about so far, as music fans, as music aficionados, we think very deeply about this stuff. Is your casual person who just likes the Police and likes that song just want to play it just because they like it and they're not reading too much into it?
Absolutely. And it's a sound, it's a vibe, it's probably what they're going for. And generally, it's probably what was popular at the height of their wedding. Mine wasn't. I mean, mine was, from The Lion King when I was a kid, and Elton John's one of my favorite, and Can You Feel the Love Tonight's a classic. Mm-hmm. But I feel like a lot of these songs, probably the DJs were playing them at multiple weddings at the same time because that was just the popular song.
That's true. I mean, if we had a first dance or something, I don't know what it would have been.
Well, if you guys ever renew your vows, Tim, you can pick out a first wedding song dance. It really wasn't that fun.
Yeah, we spoke about renewing our vows, and what we was going to do was going to go to Vegas, and we was going to get our vows renewed by Elvis in a drive-through.
Fair. Well, then I guess your first, just don't pick Suspicious Minds. That's on this list. I could be wrong, but that's not what you want at your wedding. Literally, the first line is, I'm caught in a trap and I can't walk out.
Yeah. But I love you too much, baby.
There's a lot of songs that probably from Elvis I wouldn't suggest being your wedding song, more than I think about it. But anyway, as soon as you said that, that's the first thing that came to mind. So the next song is, I remember this song, and I have never been a big fan of this band. I kind of find them annoying, if I'm being completely frank with you, but it's Coldplay, Fix You.
Yeah, and we spoke about Coldplay before, and I consider Coldplay U2 light.
Yeah, and that's how I've always kind of thought of them. I think they're talented musicians, and a lot of people love them. What is his name? He was married to Gwyneth Paltrow, the lead singer of Coldplay.
Chris Thompson?
I think that's what it is. I know he was the one that was married to Gwyneth Paltrow for a few years and then they broke up. But the song, apparently, and I don't think I knew this, I knew there was a line that's like, when you get what you want, but not what you need. Mm-hmm. I've heard that line before. Apparently, the song is actually about losing someone to cancer.
Oh, yeah, that's probably not something that you want on a for your first dance at your wedding.
Well, think about it. The first line of the song is when you try your best, but you don't succeed. When you get what you want, what you need or whatever. So stuck in reverse, ignite your bones or something. I will try to fix you. Now that I hear it and know it's about cancer, it makes sense. But I would have never picked up on that had I not read this on this article when people were talking about it.
I think if you had a change of career, you've been an HR professional for many years, but if you decided that you wanted to change your career and you wanted to be a wedding planner, I think you would be recommending at this point instrumentals for the first stars.
I mean, I walked down the aisle to just an instrument. I don't even know what song it was. I just went through a list of songs and found one that I thought sounded nice because I didn't want to do the wedding march. I have no clue. I couldn't even tell you to this day what it was that I walked down the aisle to. Some song played.
Well, years after the fact, Hannah and I decided that we'd made a big mistake because even though we got married in a courthouse, we could have had music playing as, people were coming in and we was about to walk up to where it gets all done. And we should have had the wedding march that's on the Flash Gordon album, the Queen Flash Gordon album.
Oh, yeah, that's true, Tim. So maybe you guys can blare that as you go through the drive-thru while Elvis have it played on the radio or something while Elvis redoes your vows.
Yeah, I mean, I could have edited it and made it longer and done all kinds of stuff with it. But yeah, it's like way after the fact, Hannah and I said, that was such an oversight. Why didn't we do that?
It's true. I wouldn't have ever thought about it. Like I said, I have no clue what I walked down the aisle to. I wouldn't know if you put it in front of me. So this was one that I've done a few different. I personally have sang a few different versions of it. I've put videos of me out there of me singing it. It's one of my favorite songs by this artist. But I guess I had never really thought about what it is. But it's "Make You Feel My Love" by Adele. Are you familiar with that song, Tim?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard that one.
And so for me, this one has an actual special part of my heart because it's one of my favorite, Adele songs. And like I said, but one of the episodes of Glee, Corey Monteith, the one who passed away, he overdosed on the show. I'm sure you saw headlines about it.
And I think we spoke of it on an earlier episode, in fact.
Well, they did a really nice job of when he OD'd. They decided they didn't really want it. They did an opening sequence where they're talking over the camera and they're like, there's so much time spent on why he died. But, they didn't want to focus on that. They wanted to focus on, what he was when he was alive. And at different episodes, different members of the Glee Club this was after they had graduated, they came back, they were all there for the funeral. And each of them had different songs they sang. And Leah Michelle, who has now, I think, been kind of canceled by culture. I don't know if you've seen that, Tim, but supposedly she's not a nice person. I can't confirm or deny that, but she's got some diva tendencies. And she has a wonderful voice. She was on Broadway when she was like 9 years old. But Leah Michelle was the one who was dating Corey Monteith on the show, but she's also dating him in real life. And so, art reflects reality or reality reflects art or whatever. But she did a beautiful version of "Make You Feel My Love" on that episode when he passed away. And it was very, very, very heartbreaking. And, it's a big song about wanting someone to love you. And in her case, it's, the person she was with died and she wants them back. But looking at it now, I mean, I don't really think this is that romantic of a song at all. The more I think about it, it's literally like Adele just saying, I would do anything for you to love me, but the person doesn't. And I'm like, I'm surprised, but at the same time, all of the Adele songs, if you go back to our other theory, Tim, are so popular and played on the radio to the extreme. It was probably just a heightened song at some point.
Yeah, it was probably everywhere at that time. So it would be obvious people would pick it for their wedding song like that.
Yeah, and I could see why if you just looked at it at surface value and didn't really dig into it or put a whole lot of thought to it. Because there's like that part, I'd go hungry, I'd go black, I'd go blue, I'd go crawling down the avenue to make you feel my love. It kind of sounds romantic, but it also sounds kind of creepy if you really think about it. Because if you really don't like a person and they would do all of that to try to convince you, at its core, it's kind of a stalkerish as well.
Yeah, it's a modern day every breath you take.
Yeah, it really is. I will say though, if you've never heard Leah Michelle's version of it, I might send Tim a copy of it. It is absolutely beautiful. She did a wonderful job, and every time I watch that episode, it actually makes me cry because they never stopped recording. They basically went straight back in. I watched a whole documentary about what happened when he passed away, and they kind of all agreed that they wanted to get right back into work. They gave them the option to stop, and handle it. But they kind of said what I say when I'm having a hard time or I'm struggling with something or something happens. I like to keep working to keep my mind off of it as a natural. That's my way of kind of creating a boundary between personal life and work and not. And so that's what they said, but they went straight into it probably within a few weeks after he passed away and recorded the episode in honor of him. So, and they had been, that was like they've been doing the show for like 4 or 5 seasons. And while a lot of people laugh at Glee, it was a phenomenon in its time. And there's a lot of people like me who were obsessed with it. So they rose to fame very quickly, most of the people on the show.
Do they still make new episodes of Glee, or is it done in that respect?
It's done, and they had a really sad ending. So apparently, the whole point of the show was going to be that Corey Monteith and Leah Michelle ended up together. Like that was how they had wrote the course of the end of the show. And because he passed away, they couldn't do that anymore. So it kind of jumped the shark in the last season, and they just threw it together, which was sad. It was a sad ending, but in their defense, I mean, they weren't predicting that was going to happen. And now the show kind of has a curse over it. I don't know how much you've paid attention to it, but so Corey Monteith died when they were doing it. Naya Riviera, she was the one that went missing on the boat. Did you see that, Tim?
No, I never heard that.
So Santana, who was one of the main characters of the show, she was out on a boat with her like toddler son, and they found the toddler son sitting up on the boat by himself, but she was nowhere to be found. Oh. And what they deduced was they were in the water and there was like an undertow or something bad happened, and she used every last bit of her energy to put her son up on the boat, but she couldn't save herself. So, I mean, talk about like the most selfless thing a person could do. And then there was somebody who I'm not going to say what he got in trouble for, but there's a person who got in trouble for some really bad stuff that was on the show. He played Puck. I can't remember. I think his name was Noah. That might have been, I can't remember what his name was. But then he sadly committed suicide because of everything that happened. So there's like a hex on characters on Glee. There's like a known issue now. It's kind of like, like when bands break up and all the weird stuff starts happening. Yeah, that's kind of what happened in Glee.
Goodness me. Well, for something that's such a celebration of art and music and life, it gets very dark, it seems.
Well, especially since this is an episode about just weddings. I really took a turn, everybody. Okay, moving back. Oh, here you go. This is one that I don't know that I've ever really paid attention to the lyrics to, but it's The Sweetest Thing by U2.
I'm familiar with that one.
I am too, but like I'm not familiar with it to like the degree that they might have got me with this one, because I kind of would have thought it was a romantic song. But what they're saying is Bono literally wrote this as a "I'm sorry, please take me back" song. So basically he had gotten in trouble for cheating, and this was his song asking for the girl to take it back.
Oh, goodness me.
And so, but it was everywhere. At one point in time, it was a very popular radio hit. So I could see how it could be played because it's from the Joshua Tree, right? I think so. So I could see how it got done.
I think maybe it's a little bit later than the Joshua Tree. I could be off with that.
Well, let's find out, Tim. Let's see who's right, everybody. Everybody take your poll. 1987, the Joshua Tree. And it's usually Tim's best. To be fair, we both have said many times we're not that big on YouTube.
all I know about U2 is the drummer is fine.
All I know about U2 is Bono wears a lot of glasses and does a lot of humanitarian stuff. And in Vertigo, he counts to 5 in Spanish, but says like 5 twice, or maybe it's 7. I don't know. That's really all I know. And then they had that one song that everybody hated because it was put on their iPhones and iPod.
Well, it was a whole album. They released that album by pushing it to everyone's Apple devices, and people didn't want free records from U2.
And so, oh, Lord. Okay, so here it is. The song was written by Bono as an apology to his wife, Allie Houston, for forgetting, so it's not for cheating, for forgetting her birthday during the Joshua Tree sessions. In 1998, a new version of the song was recorded. That's probably why you thought It was later, Tim. They have two versions of the song.
Ah, there we go. Because, yeah, I remember it. It was 90s, 2000s. I remember it being a song. So, yeah.
So this was 1998.
I was almost right.
It says it was included on the compilation album of their best, hits or whatever from 1980 to 1990. So that's probably why it was re-released on that album in 1998 and became a hit again. There you are. I don't know, though, that I would have ever thought it was about. I don't know what I would have thought it was about, if I'm being completely honest.
You can never tell with Bono.
Well, I mean, he does, like, the only thing I remember from the song is, like, the chorus is, like, ain't love the sweetest thing. And that's it. I got nothing else. Don't know anything else about the song. Let's see. All right. So this one, I don't know if Tim's going to be familiar with it or not, but I'm sure he's probably heard it because it was everywhere. Have you ever heard the song Marry You by Bruno Mars?
Yes, I've heard that song.
So I'm very familiar with this song, and I am the kind of person who's kind of associated it as a romantic thing until they pointed out to me. So the song is really about, like, a couple going and getting married in Vegas or whatever. Mm-hmm. And one of the lyrics says, we're looking for something dumb to do. Hey, baby, I think I want to marry you. So it's like literally saying this is stupid and we're going to regret it in the morning in the song like 4 times, but we should get married. And I remember this viral video that was going around where it was like a huge proposal and the guy had brought in like all these dancers and everything. And it was to this song and he asked the girl to marry him in front of huge amount of people. And now I'm looking back going, that's interesting.
Yeah, I proposed to my wife via email. She was in the room, but I proposed to her via email because I met her on the internet. I thought it was a cool thing to do.
Something. Charlie proposed to me while we were sitting on a porch, and he handed me the wedding ring, and I proceeded to drop it and have to find it on the ground.
Wow, that's
for
so
like
on
10
brand.
minutes. And it like fell, and I had to like reach my hand in the little boards on the thing to find the ring. Yeah.
That is so on brand for you, Joy. I mean, I'd be disappointed if you didn't drop it and almost lose it.
Yep. And to be fair, I do not have my engagement ring anymore. I had it at one point, and then I really have like sensitivities to like certain metals. My skin's very sensitive, so I actually wear silicone wedding ring now. Mm-hmm. And that's actually what a lot of people wear, but it's actually really comfortable. Mm-hmm. So I have that wedding ring sits in a jewelry box over there, but I still have it. It's just, and the original wedding band I wore was a different one, but there you go, everybody. I dropped it. And then I remember there was a picture of us sitting on a swing that somebody took directly after we got engaged. I don't even remember. I don't think Charlie got down on one knee or anything. I think he just said, will you marry me? And handed me the ring. And then I proceeded to grab it from him and throw it to the ground. And that's all that happened. I'm sure Charlie was sitting there going, yeah, I should have predicted that.
Well, I tell you what, Joy, let's do one more from your not at your wedding day songs.
All right, let's see here. So, this is a great one. This is how I'm going to end it, Tim. It is Total Eclipse of the Heart by Bonnie Taylor. Tyler. I mean, her name is Tyler.
Yeah, I mean, this is a fabulous song. Yeah, maybe it was a big first wedding dance song in the 80s. I don't know.
Well, the lyric in it that, should have set you up that it's not necessarily as great as you think. It's once upon a time I was falling in love, but now I'm only falling apart.
Yeah.
Might not be the right message for your first wedding day.
But it's so dramatic. This is a sort of song I would think that Charlie would insist on for a first dance, just because it's so incredibly dramatic. That
Jim Steinman or whatever, Steinman? That's his name. He admitted that the song was for a vampire musical. Do you remember us discussing that, Tim?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the song is literally the hints and just mysterious undertones and all that kind of stuff. And obviously, me and Tim told our story about everybody singing it on the day of the total eclipse that we all went outside and stared at the sun with our fancy sunglasses Tim commissioned. But, yeah, I mean, it is. I don't know if the vampire musical was a love story, but it probably was. Vampires tend to always have love stories somehow mixed into them.
They absolutely. Did you ever watch True Blood when it was on?
Yep.
I
Yes,
mean,
I did.
that was a vampire love story. Obviously, you've seen True Blood because you know my stellar Bill Compton impersonation.
You talking about Sookie? Yeah, no, I watched it, and then I watched the first 2 seasons. Then I kind of lost track and went back and watched a little bit more, but I need to finish it up. But I definitely watched the first 2 seasons and have an indication about, what it's about. I struggle with those shows, and here's why. My dad's from Louisiana, and I struggle with the fake Cajun accents because they're so ridiculous from someone who's been to Louisiana, whose dad, I hear my dad can talk about. I mean, they do sound, don't get me wrong. I grew up with a French in my vocabulary. Like I speak French. My family spoke French. Dad talks about it. I mean, they didn't really speak French, but Dad's family spoke French, and he would teach me different words when I was a kid. My mom doesn't or anything, but just to clarify that, and my parents are listening. But like the fake Cajun accents drive me insane, and so I had a real problem with True Blood and all the Cajun accents. And then I also, what is that? He's a superhero character that people listen to, and he like conducts electricity. Oh, Charlie would kill me for this one, but he had a fake Cajun accent. Every time Charlie would watch that one, I could not. Gambit, I think is his name. He has a really bad laid on Cajun accent that I can't stand. My dad always complained about the marketing on Cajun things too. Like he would hate when you go somewhere and they're like, these are Cajun biscuits and these is Cajun this. He's like, we didn't eat any other biscuit different. Like our biscuits didn't have some special Cajun whatever. He's like, they're just biscuits. Yeah, my dad makes like a gumbo and a jambalaya and those things. And he actually says, like Zatarans, the red beans and rice, the one you can get in a box. He actually says that's very similar to what he ate when he grew up in Louisiana. He says if you have to pick like a marketed mainstream Cajun thing, Zatarans is as close as it gets.
No, we have a box of that downstairs right now.
It's quite good. Beans, rice. I mean, well, and I think that those things were very popular. That's how you say that word, popular in Louisiana because they're cheap. And Louisiana was kind of a poor town. It still kind of is. It's our poor state. I don't know. It didn't have a lot of money, so it's easy to fill up on protein with rice and beans.
There we are. Well, it can't be any worse than the Cajun accent as a Knight Rider episode with a Cajun lady called Lila.
Oh, God.
And whenever it comes on, Hannah's like, this is the worst thing I've ever heard.
I probably would cringe. I mean, they didn't do terrible in True Blood, but some of the actors did better than some of the others. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like the werewolf guy and stuff. That was so intense. Anyway. But yeah, that's my thing on Louisiana. I struggle with anything that's got fake Cajun stuff. And you'll never find my father walking into a Bojangles. Drives him absolutely insane. All right. With that, do you have anything else for the people, Tim?
Just be extra kind to everyone you meet.
All right. Bye.
Bye. See you later. Bye-bye.